Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. A few short items. I'm going to try to keep them really short and then on to the main subject. I say a few because there has been some pretty good news for conservatives in the last day or so. Full disclosure, I'm a conservative, so always keep that in mind when you evaluate whatever I say. So let's start with this first item. Supreme Court unanimously rebuffs Biden administration on warrantless searches for handguns. The Supreme Court unanimously, not a typo, unanimously, liberals and conservatives. The Supreme Court unanimously rejected Biden administration arguments in a case from Rhode Island that police should be allowed to enter homes without a warrant to seize handguns. The name of the case, by the way, Caniglia versus Strom. The case came before the High Court as President Joe Biden and congressional Democrats pressed for aggressive new restrictions on Second Amendment gun ownership rights, including controversial, quote, red flag, unquote, laws, which allow gun seizures from law-abiding gun owners with limited due process in the wake of highly publicized deadly mass shootings in March at a Boulder, Colorado supermarket and at Atlanta area spas. What that red flag law is, people complain, like a neighbor saying that his neighbor is acting a little weird and he owns a bunch of guns. So based on that, the police come in and seize the guns. So you can't do that. You need evidence. You need a warrant. If the person is that much of a danger, then get a warrant. Then you can go in, search the place, seize the guns. But you need a warrant. So that's good news number one. And by the way, the Supreme Court just agreed to hear an abortion case. Nothing to say about it now because the case hasn't even been heard. So we'll see how that turns out. I'll keep you informed. It will be interesting to see because we now have, I was about to say a conservative majority on the Supreme Court, but I really should say a constitutional respecting majority on the Supreme Court. The majority of the justices on the Supreme Court now respect the Constitution, believe that the Constitution means no more and no less than what it actually says. So it's going to be interesting to see how this decision turns out. Second item, remember how Joe Biden said it was Neanderthal thinking for these red states, these conservative states, to relax their coronavirus restrictions. Specifically, he was talking about Texas. Well, take a look at this headline. Texas reports zero COVID deaths 2 months after Biden called its reopening plan as, quote, Neanderthal thinking, unquote. So there you go. Neanderthal thinking won, liberal Democrats, Joe Biden, zero. As in zero coronavirus deaths. And by the way, I'm sure everybody is aware that the CDC said if you're vaccinated, you don't need to wear a mask or social distance, period, whether you're inside or outside. I called Starbucks because I read, my local Starbucks, a couple of them, because I read that Starbucks is going to be one of the businesses that is going to respect the CDC guidance. So I called them. Right now, if you want to pick up a coffee from Starbucks and you want to go inside to pick up your coffee, you don't have to wear a mask if you've been vaccinated. I asked about seating. You still can't sit down in there, but one of the Starbucks people told me at the local Starbucks that that is going to change after the end of the month, that after, well, starting in June, you'll be able to go back to Starbucks as you usually were able to, which is good for me because I use Starbucks for an office. I work in my home office. It's nice to get out every so often, so I'll buy a coffee. I'm one of these campers, Starbucks campers that other Starbucks people hate. Not so much here because Starbucks, where I am in Tennessee now, but mea culpa, I was one of those people. I was a hypocrite. I was one of these people who would go into Starbucks, be irritated because all the tables would be filled. I could not sit down with my laptop, but when I was able to sit down, I wouldn't leave. I would stay there all day. So, mea culpa, I'm a hypocrite. The advantage of Starbucks is that they have power. You can plug in your computer there, so you're not stuck on battery power. So that's it. I'm a bad guy. Put the cuffs on, take me away. Sorry, I'm a bad guy. But it's not, well, New York is rid of me now. I lived in New York for 40 years. As I've said numerous times, I moved to Tennessee a couple years ago. Here the Starbucks are not that crowded, and there are so many of them. I have a car now, so easy driving distance, so no problem. If one is full, I go to another, but there's always been a place. So there you go. Little Tennessee trivia for everybody. Next, and this will be the last item before we get to the main subject. It turns out, by coincidence, in the House, the Democrats and the Republicans finally agreed to an arrangement. It would be a committee with equal numbers of Republicans and Democrats to investigate the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol, where a bunch of Trump supporters broke into the Capitol. Well, no, they didn't. They did not break into the Capitol. That's what I want to share with everybody right now. Here's the headline. Video shows U.S. Capitol Police gave protesters okay to enter. So that doesn't excuse what some of the protesters, not all of them though, some of them did inside, but those are the only people who were doing anything wrong. Those people who broke into, for example, Nancy Pelosi's office, broke into her private office, rummaged around in her desk, I believe, and I think took a laptop. But that was a minority of the people. The Democrats were trying to tar everybody who entered, saying that they broke in and arrest everybody. Well, no, according to a video, there is video, the police gave them permission to enter. Those who entered and were peaceful the whole time, like that woman who was shot, the woman who was shot by an officer, and we don't even know who that officer is. The name has never been revealed. But, well, let me just give you this. I'm going to read from the article. Actually, I'm going to read practically the whole article. It's very short, and then on to the main subject. A newly obtained video shows United States Capitol Police officers speaking with several January 6 protesters. Right, protesters, not insurrectionists. Except for, well, no, it wasn't an insurrection. It was people, even the people who destroyed property. They were people who destroyed property, okay? But they weren't trying to bring down the entire government. But I digress. And by the way, I am going to show the video in a moment, so you'll see the video. Newly obtained video shows United States Capitol Police officers speaking with several January 6 protesters, including Jacob Chansley, the so-called, quote, Q shaman, unquote, inside the Capitol that afternoon. That would be the bare-chested guy with the horns. One officer identified in the video and confirmed by charging documents as Officer Keith Robichaud appears to tell Chansley's group that they won't stop them from entering the building. Quote, "We're not against, you need to show us no attacking, no assault, remain calm," unquote, Robichaud warns. Chansley and another protester instruct the crowd to act peacefully, and you're going to see and hear that in the video. Quote, "This has to be peaceful," unquote, Chansley yelled. Quote, "We have the right to peacefully assemble," unquote. Just as Donald Trump said, by the way, when he was speaking. But I don't want to digress too much, trying to keep this short. The video directly contradicts what government prosecutors allege in a complaint filed January 8th against Chansley. Quote, "Robichaud and other officers calmed the protesters somewhat and directed them to leave the area from the same way they had entered. Chansley approached Officer Robichaud and screamed, among other things, that this was their house and that they were there to take the Capitol and to get congressional leaders," unquote. And again, you're going to see a video in a moment that contradicts every syllable of that, and even the spaces between the words. Chansley later is seen entering the Senate chambers with a police officer behind him. He led several protesters in prayer and sat in Vice President Mike Pence's chair. Chansley is not charged with assaulting an officer. He faces several counts for trespassing and disorderly conduct. He has been incarcerated since January, denied bail, awaiting trial. He has no criminal record. And now the video. Watch.
Everybody, listen up. The police here are willing to work with us and cooperate peacefully, like our First Amendment allows. Gather more Americans under the condition that they will come and gather peacefully to discuss what needs to be done to save our country.
One other or the other. You need a show. You understand? Then show us no attacking, no assault, remain calm.
We're not going to assault. We're going to be heard. Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This has to be peaceful. We have the right to peacefully assemble.
The video speaks for itself. What the Democrats are claiming is false. The video proves it. The protesters were given the okay. They were allowed into the Capitol building. They did not break in. And now on to today's subject. This is something I've been meaning to talk about for a while. I get comments occasionally. This is a new vlog, I guess, or it's not a very popular one yet, put it that way. I've been doing it for a year or so, maybe 2 years by now, maybe more. But it's starting to pick up, and I'm starting to get enough comments over time that I'm seeing a pattern. I'm seeing a pattern in the comments. It seems now there may be a couple rare exceptions. If there were, I don't remember them, but this pattern seems pretty consistent. The tone and the kinds of comments I get, the differing tones between the ones I get from my friends on the left or our friends on the left and the ones I get from our friends on the right. I'm just going to show you a couple of comments, put them up, read them, and then we will discuss, or I will discuss, and then you can discuss right back at me in the comments, and we'll see if your comments fit this pattern. But here's the first one. This one is from someone named Johan. He has actually commented a few times. Well, first let me put this screenshot up. This is the video for which the comments came. 2 comments on the same video. Maricopa ballot audit, new quote, roadblock, unquote, Democrats must really be worried. So I don't remember this specific roadblock. It could have been refusing to turn over routers, or they've thrown up various roadblocks, but trying to stop this audit, and I said they must really be scared. So here's the comment from Johan, who apparently is, well, I can't say whether he's a conservative or not, but he's agreeing with me. That's the main point. But here's his comment, and well, here's the comment. Random audits are good for keeping standards high, more so if neither side cannot trust the other. Just weird that one side do not, so in America that should be does not, but maybe Johan is British and then do not would be correct. So I'm going to give him a free pass on the grammar there. Just weird that one side do not want high standard clarification. The evidence was already in before the audit. They know it. That's why they are hiding the routers and their MAC addresses. I don't know if MAC stands for something or not, but Macintosh computer, MAC addresses after the court ordered the routers. Basically repeating what I said in my, well, apparently it was about the routers, this particular vlog, but he's basically repeating what I said, but he's making a comment. He's expressing an opinion, and he's polite. He's polite. Now, here is another comment I got on the very same vlog, very same video from someone named Holly Jones, who definitely, no doubt in my mind, is among our friends on the left, is a far left liberal. Here is what Holly Jones said about, these are her constructive, substantive comments on that video. Yeah, because the cyber ninjas should have the private information of voters. This, quote, audit, unquote, smells like blank, and my nose is a bit delicate. I'll leave you losers to stroke each other's sore spot or dong, but you can keep that between you. Do you notice a little difference there? One is making a substantive, polite statement. The other one is just an insult. That's all it is. That's all I get from liberal commenters, except for, well, if there is an exception, I don't remember. Actually, I do kind of remember one from someone who was obviously a liberal saying that I know how you feel to lose an election. We lost when Trump won, we felt bad. You should just accept the loss. That's fine. Disagreed with me, but was polite. No problem. No insult, and there's something substantive there, the statement of an opinion. Here, well, first of all, the cyber ninjas, just in case you don't know, that's the organization, the company that is doing the audit in Maricopa County. But she says, yeah, because the cyber ninjas should have the private information of voters. Who said that? Where's the evidence? She doesn't cite any that Cyber Ninja would have, or the cyber ninjas would have any access to private information of voters, or why they would even want it. The only information they seek is the one that should be publicly available from the voter rolls. Names and addresses of voters. All they want to do is contact the voter to see if they actually live at the address. For instance, they could be an out-of-state voter. They could be dead. So we should know that, right? But that's not private information, whether somebody is dead or alive. Once you're dead, that's it. You have no rights at all, by the way, once you're dead. Slander laws, libel laws, none of that stuff applies to you if you're dead, because you can't be damaged. But I don't want to digress too much in that direction. But that's all they want. That's what the election officials should be doing. And in fact, one of the voting reforms in at least one of the states, I don't remember which one, said that I think every 30 days the voting rolls have to be cleaned. They have to go through the voting rolls to make sure that everybody on the roll is a legal voter and at the address where they are and alive. That's all they're doing. Or, well, I mean, you obviously want to make sure, and this has happened, that the address, a voter's address, is not a vacant lot. If you have 10 people or 10 ballots from the same address, 10 people from the same address, then you want to see if there are really 10 people living at that same address. If you have 10 people from the same address, or 10 alleged ostensible voters from the same address, all with the identical handwriting, then of course you would want to verify that. That is not private information if that's what, well, that's the only information they're seeking. And actually in Maricopa County, they agreed not even to do that unless there's some extraordinary circumstance that requires it. They made an agreement with the election officials. They would just go to publicly available information. For instance, dead or alive, check the obituaries. That would be a way to check if somebody's alive. Check if somebody is at an address. Well, this actually happened to me, so I can speak from personal experience. Another, I guess I'm confessing my law breaking today. I lived in New York for a considerable time. I moved from place to place, but one apartment I was in, I had moved in legally under a sublet from a friend of mine, and you're allowed in New York to sublet your apartment for 2 years. So he sublet it to me for 2 years, and I looked for another apartment to move out after 2 years, and I couldn't find one. I couldn't even find an apartment I could afford that my couch would fit into, which is interesting, because when I finally did have to move, get evicted, I had to leave that couch on the street because it wouldn't fit into the apartment that the last apartment I moved to before I moved to Tennessee, where I now have a 3-floor condo and plenty of room to put my couch, and my new couch, and to film these videos and do a whole bunch of other stuff. But I guess I'm digressing today too. The point is that when my friend moved out, because he was my friend, I pretended to be he. I stayed in that apartment, and he would write, you can renew a lease for 2 years. The landlord has to let you renew the lease, but they have rent control, so you can raise the rent a certain amount, which is why there is such this shortage of apartments in New York. But he would write 2 years worth of checks. He emptied out his checking account but left the account there, so every month I would deposit money into that account and then send one of these 2 years worth of checks that he signed ahead of time. But one day I came home and there were 3 letters in my mailbox. One to me, my friend had moved to New Jersey. That's why he was able to sublet the apartment. His wife was from the Philippines, didn't like Manhattan, so she made him, as wives often do, made him move somewhere else. He moved to New Jersey. So I got 3 letters in my mailbox. One to me, one to my friend, one to his wife, and he got 3 letters too, the same letters, at his address in New Jersey. They were able to find out that he had moved. They just went through the driver's license. They investigated everybody in my building, found out who was there legally by just looking up their driver's licenses, and they found his driver's license in New Jersey. I think that's how. They hired a private... What happened was the building got sold, and the new owners investigated everybody in the building, and that's what happened. And then my apartment, they turned it was a 1-bedroom, a spacious 1-bedroom. I ran into one of the legal residents in the building sometime later, and she told me my apartment, my 1-bedroom, had been converted to a 3-bedroom. So there's a little New York, local color for you. The point is, the new owners of the building were able to find out, number one, that I did not legally live in the apartment, and number 2, they found the people who did legally live in the apartment without ever contacting either of us. Neither of us knew anything about it until we found these letters in our mailbox. So again, this Holly Jones, you don't need any private information. It's very easy. So that is the agreement that the auditors made with Maricopa County, that they would use other means to find out who was a legal voter, and only if these other means did not work out, which should be very rare, as I personally discovered, then they would have to contact the voters. So this is another red herring, and of the many that we've seen in all these roadblocks. But then from there, that's actually the only remotely substantive criticism that Holly Jones makes. The rest is the audit smells like blank. You know what the blank is. I blanked it out there. And my nose is a bit delicate. I'll leave you losers to stroke your other sore spot or dong, but you can keep that between you. And that is really my only point. All the comments, almost all the comments from liberals, they are all like that. They never make a substantive argument. They just insult. Ad hominem attacks. That's all they do, and that raises the obvious question of why. Why don't they make an argument? And the obvious answer to this conservative is because they can't. They can't. There is no argument. They have no foot to stand on logically, argumentatively. They just have to insult and make up stuff because the reality does not comport with their prejudices, and that's all this is. So I'm just going to leave it there. And the way to, well, maybe I'm going to get some more insults now in my comments, but if I do, they will only come from the left. They will not come from the right. And number two, to all you liberals out there listening, and I love all my liberal friends, but I would just casually mention some friendly advice to my liberal friends. And I do have a lot of liberal friends. Well, not really in Tennessee. I haven't really met any, but I had a lot of liberal friends back in New York because there's so many liberals and so few conservatives that if I didn't have liberal friends, I really wouldn't have any friends at all. So I will just give you this friendly advice from your friendly conservative interlocutor that if you send me a comment similar to the one that I just quoted from Holly Jones, you're just proving my point. You're just reinforcing my point, my contention, my belief that that's all that liberals know how to do. If you want to prove me wrong, it's very simple. Just send me a calm. It doesn't even have to be calm, but just a polite. I mean, you can put an explanation point in there. And please, this is another thing I've noticed. Try to get the grammar and the spelling right. Okay, that's the other thing. A lot of misspellings. Holly Jones is okay, but, well, not actually. Yeah, because the Cyber Ninja should be a comma after yeah. And other than that, she's okay. So that's minor. So I'm not going to dwell on that. But I do get a lot of bad grammar, and it almost always comes from the left-wing commenters. But I would suggest here's your opportunity to prove me wrong. Just send me comments that are polite, well-worded, making an argument, back up what you say, give me the facts, send me a link maybe, and I'll go to it. Cite your source, or just send me an opinion, as Johan did, but well, for instance, Johan said that's why they are hiding the routers and their MAC addresses after the court ordered the routers. So you can make a nice, polite, substantive argument of why the election authorities of Maricopa County are entitled to disobey a court order. Because you can make whatever argument, and you're welcome to make an argument that there is a reason that they have a good reason to deny access to the routers, but that doesn't change the fact that the court has ordered it. And everybody who loses a court case, they still feel they are right. That's why they bring their cases in the first place, so they could feel that they were right to resist turning over the routers, but they have no excuse not to turn them over. So somebody, because of the court order, so you should just say why they're entitled to hold on to the routers, disobey the court order, and not be held accountable for it by some kind of sanction from the court. So that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by, and that thank you extends to the liberals, to everybody. Thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate the time that you spend with me, liberals included, even though you can be insulting sometimes in your comments. It would be nice if... Have I ever used four-letter words or just... I don't think I have. I've always been nice, even to the other side. So, and if I haven't, you can point it out in the comments. But I really do appreciate the time everybody spends with me. If you could spend a little more time, I would appreciate a thumbs up. Share this video with anybody you think would also like it. Comments, as I've been saying, you can put in the comment section below the video. Questions, suggestions for future topics. You can visit my other channels, my hot dog channel, my music channel. Working on a new song right now, but the link's in the description. You could subscribe. I love getting new subscribers, and again, that applies to you liberals too. And finally, come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.